Stay with me for a few more minutes, my beloved child, stay with me for a few more minutes. I know you are busy. I know there are 1,000 things pulling at your attention right now, messages waiting to be answered, tasks waiting to be finished, a life moving so fast around you that stillness feels almost like a luxury you cannot afford. But I am asking you, gently, to stay here a little longer. Not because I need your time, but because you need this moment, even if you do not yet know why. It was never about me needing your attention. It was always about you needing a place to finally rest it. So much of your life has been spent moving toward the next task, the next deadline, the next obligation, the next version of yourself that you hope will finally feel like enough. And in all that moving, you have rarely given yourself permission to simply stop. To sit in silence. To let your mind settle instead of scrambling from one demand to the next. I am not asking you to add another task to your list today. I am asking you to set the list down, just for these next few minutes, and be still with me. Stay with me, because I have something to say to you that you cannot hear while you are running. I know the voice inside you that says stillness is unproductive, that rest is something you have to earn after you have accomplished enough to deserve it. I know the guilt that creeps in the moment you try to slow down, the sense that you should be doing something, fixing something, achieving something, instead of simply sitting here reading these words. I want to gently push back against that voice today, because it has never been mine, and it has never told you the truth. It was never true that stillness is wasted time. It was always true that stillness is where I do some of my deepest work in you. Think about how much of what actually shapes a life happens in quiet, unremarkable moments rather than dramatic ones. A seed changes underground, in darkness, in silence, long before anything visible breaks the surface. A wound heals slowly, cell by cell, in the stillness of rest, not in the frenzy of activity. Your soul is no different. The healing, the clarity, the peace you have been longing for cannot be rushed into being through more effort, more striving, more noise. It requires exactly what you are doing right now, staying, pausing, letting yourself be still enough to actually receive what I want to give you. So stay with me for a few more minutes. Let your shoulders drop from wherever they have been living, somewhere up near your ears, tense and guarded against a world that rarely gives you permission to relax. Let your breathing slow. Let the noise of your obligations fade into the background, if only for this short window of time. I want to tell you something that I do not think you hear often enough. I enjoy your company. Not your productivity. Not your performance. Not the version of you that shows up polished and put together for the world. I enjoy simply being with you, the tired version, the uncertain version, the version who does not have all the answers and is not pretending to. It was never your achievements that drew me close. It was always simply you, exactly as you are in this moment, that I wanted to be near. I know that is hard to believe, especially if the people in your life have made their presence conditional on what you can offer them, your usefulness, your agreeableness, your ability to perform whatever role they need from you. I know you have learned, painfully, that attention often comes with strings attached, that love often has to be earned through constant effort, that stillness in front of others can feel dangerous, like an invitation for judgment rather than an offer of connection. I am not like that. I have never been like that. When I ask you to stay with me for a few more minutes, I am not evaluating your performance during this time. I am not measuring whether you are still enough, quiet enough, focused enough, spiritual enough. I am simply enjoying the fact that you are here, present, willing to stay a little longer than you originally planned. Stay with me, because there is something in your heart right now that has been waiting for a safe place to finally rest. I know you have been carrying something. I do not need you to name it yet, though I already know exactly what it is. Maybe it is a fear you have not spoken out loud to anyone, a worry that circles your mind late at night when everyone else is asleep and you are left alone with your thoughts. Maybe it is a grief you have not fully processed, a loss you have learned to function around but have never truly grieved all the way through. Maybe it is simply exhaustion, the kind that builds slowly over months and years of showing up, holding things together, being strong for everyone else while no one asks how you are actually doing. Whatever it is, I already see it. And I am not asking you to fix it in these next few minutes. I am simply asking you to let me sit with you in it, the way a friend sits beside you in a hospital waiting room, not because they can solve anything, but because their presence alone makes the waiting more bearable. It was never about you needing to solve everything before coming to me. It was always about you being willing to bring the unsolved parts and let me hold them alongside you. I want you to notice something about this moment you are in right now. You clicked on this. You started reading it. And even now, some part of you is tempted to move on, to check something else, to let your attention scatter the way it usually does. But I am asking you, gently, to resist that pull just a little longer. Stay. Not because leaving would disappoint me, I am never disappointed by your humanity, but because I believe something is beginning to shift in you the longer you remain here, present, unhurried, willing to simply be still. Stay with me, because the parts of your life that need the most healing are rarely healed in motion. They are healed in stillness, in presence, in the slow unclenching of a heart that has been braced for impact for far too long. I know you have been bracing. Bracing for the next disappointment, the next loss, the next thing to go wrong in a life that has already taught you, through painful experience, that good things do not always last and bad things can arrive without warning. That bracing has kept you safe in some ways, but it has also kept you from fully receiving the good that has been available to you all along, because a heart braced for impact cannot fully open its hands to receive a gift. I am asking you, in this moment, to loosen that brace, even slightly. Not recklessly. Not naively. Just enough to let yourself receive what I am offering you right now, my presence, unhurried, undemanding, simply here with you exactly as you are. Stay with me, and let me remind you of something you may have forgotten in the busyness of surviving your days. You are not just a list of tasks to complete or roles to fulfill. You are not just the sum of your responsibilities, your failures, your achievements, or your obligations to everyone else. Underneath all of that, there is a person I made on purpose, with specific gifts, a specific heart, a specific way of seeing the world that no one else carries in quite the same way. That person matters to me, not for what they produce, but simply for who they are. It was never your output that made you valuable to me. It was always your existence, the simple fact of you being here, made in my image, carrying a piece of my heart within you. I know it is easy to lose sight of that truth when the world constantly measures you by what you contribute, what you accomplish, how useful you are to the people and systems around you. But I do not measure you that way, and I never have. Even if you accomplished nothing else for the rest of your life, even if every project you started remained unfinished, even if every goal you set went unmet, you would still be exactly as valuable to me as you are right now. In this moment, simply existing, simply breathing, simply staying with me for these few minutes. Stay with me a little longer, because I want to speak to the specific exhaustion you carry from trying to hold everything together on your own. I know you have grown accustomed to being the strong one, the reliable one, the person others lean on without ever offering the same support in return. I know how heavy that role can become over time, how it slowly teaches you that needing help is a weakness rather than a normal, human, necessary part of life. I want you to set that role down for these few minutes. You do not have to be strong with me. You do not have to hold it all together, present a composed face, or manage anyone else's expectations. You can simply be tired here. You can simply be uncertain here. You can simply admit, even if only in the quiet of your own heart, that you do not have everything figured out, and that admission does not disappoint me, it draws me closer. It was never a sign of failure to need rest. It was always a sign of wisdom to recognize when you have been carrying more than any person was ever meant to carry alone. I also want to remind you, as you stay here with me, that I have never once grown tired of you. I know exhaustion is something you understand deeply, something you have felt in your body, your mind, your relationships. But that is not something I experience toward you. I do not grow weary of your questions, your doubts, your repeated struggles with the same issues you thought you had already overcome. I do not sigh with impatience when you come to me again with the same fears you brought last week, last month, last year. My patience with you does not run out the way human patience sometimes does. Stay with me, then, without fear of wearing out my welcome. There is no limit on how long you are allowed to linger here, no quota of quiet moments you are permitted before I grow tired of your company. You could stay here for hours, and I would not once wish you would leave so I could attend to something more important. There is nothing more important to me, in this moment, than being here with you. I want to speak, too, to the restlessness that might be rising in you even now, the urge to check the time, to wonder how much longer this is going to take, to start planning what you need to do the moment you finish reading. That restlessness is not your enemy, but it is worth noticing. It is often a sign of how disconnected you have become from your own need for rest, how thoroughly you have trained yourself to always be moving toward the next thing rather than simply existing in the present one. Stay with me a little longer, and let that restlessness settle, even slightly. You do not have to solve it today. You do not have to become a perfectly still, perfectly peaceful person by the end of these few minutes. You simply have to notice it, acknowledge it gently, and choose, just for now, to remain here instead of letting it pull you away. I know why staying is hard. It is hard because stillness leaves you alone with your own thoughts, and some of those thoughts are uncomfortable, painful, or frightening. It is easier to keep moving, keep busy, keep distracted, than to sit quietly and face whatever has been waiting beneath the surface of your daily rush. But I want you to know that whatever rises in the stillness is not something to fear. I am here in the stillness with you, ready to meet whatever surfaces, ready to hold whatever feels too heavy to hold alone. It was never dangerous to sit with your own heart in my presence. It was always safe, because I am not shocked, disappointed, or repelled by whatever you find there. Stay with me a few more minutes, and let me remind you why this matters so much. In the quiet, I am able to do the deep work that noise and busyness prevent. In the quiet, wounds that have been papered over with distraction finally have room to be acknowledged and tended to. In the quiet, the anxious thoughts that usually run unchecked through your mind finally slow down enough for you to notice which ones are true and which ones are simply fear dressed up as fact. This is not a magic formula that instantly fixes everything wrong in your life. But it is a beginning, a small, faithful step toward the kind of presence and peace that cannot be manufactured through more effort, more striving, more distraction. Stay with me now, and let this be the first of many moments where you choose stillness over rush, presence over distraction, rest over relentless motion. I also want you to know that this moment of staying does not have to end the instant you close this and return to your day. You can carry this stillness with you, even into the busyness that awaits you. You can return to it in small moments throughout your day, a breath taken deliberately in the middle of a hectic afternoon, a brief pause before responding to a stressful message, a few seconds of remembering that I am with you even in the chaos of an ordinary Tuesday. Staying with me is not confined to this reading. It is an invitation into an ongoing way of living, one breath, one pause, one moment at a time. Stay with me a little longer still, because I want to leave you with something to carry forward. You are not required to have everything figured out before you come to me. You are not required to be calm, composed, or spiritually impressive in order to deserve my presence. You are simply invited, again and again, as many times as you need it, to stay a little longer, to breathe a little slower, to remember that you are loved not for what you accomplish, but simply for who you are. Stay with me, too, and let me address the part of you that measures this moment by whether it produces an immediate result. You may be wondering, even now, what staying here will actually change. Will your circumstances be different when you finish reading? Will the problem waiting for you on the other side of this pause suddenly resolve itself? I want to be honest with you, probably not, at least not in the dramatic way you might wish. But something quieter, something more foundational, is happening in you even now, a slow recalibration of what you believe about rest, about worth, about whether you are allowed to simply be instead of constantly striving to prove yourself. It was never about instant transformation. It was always about small, faithful moments of staying that, over time, reshaped the way you carry your whole life. I want you to consider how different your days might feel if staying with me became a habit rather than a rare exception. Imagine a life where, instead of running from morning until night without a single moment of stillness, you built in small pauses, brief moments of remembering that you are held, that you are known, that you do not have to carry everything alone. That kind of life is not built in a single sitting. It is built one small choice at a time, one moment of staying instead of rushing, repeated again and again until it becomes as natural as breathing. Stay with me a little longer, and let me speak to the shame that sometimes creeps in during moments of rest, the sense that you should be doing something more productive, that stopping means you are lazy, weak, or falling behind everyone else who seems to be moving faster than you. I want to gently dismantle that shame right now. Rest is not the opposite of a well-lived life. It is a necessary part of it. Even the most disciplined among my children need seasons of stillness, moments of simply being, in order to sustain the work they are called to over the long haul. It was never true that rest makes you weak. It was always true that refusing rest eventually makes you brittle, unable to withstand the very pressures you were trying so hard to outrun. I also want to acknowledge something you may be feeling right now, a kind of vulnerability that comes from staying still long enough to actually feel your own emotions instead of numbing them with constant activity. That vulnerability can feel uncomfortable, even frightening, especially if you have spent years learning to keep moving so you would not have to sit with difficult feelings. I want you to know that whatever feelings are rising in you right now, sadness, longing, fear, even a strange kind of relief, none of them are wrong. None of them need to be suppressed or rushed past. You are allowed to feel them fully here, in this safe, unhurried space, without judgment from me. Stay with me a little longer still, and let me tell you about the kind of relationship I actually want with you, not one built on performance, not one measured by how many tasks you complete for me or how flawlessly you follow every rule, but one built on presence, on trust, on the simple willingness to keep showing up, imperfectly, honestly, again and again. That is the relationship I have always wanted with you, even in the seasons you felt distant from me, even in the seasons you were not sure I was there at all. It was never a performance-based relationship I was asking for. It was always simply your presence, offered honestly, that I wanted from the very beginning. I know that trusting this kind of relationship takes time, especially if every other relationship in your life has taught you that presence must be earned, that attention comes with conditions, that love can be withdrawn the moment you fail to meet expectations. I am patient with your slow trust. I am not offended by your hesitation to fully believe that I want nothing from you except your presence. Stay with me anyway, even in your hesitation, even in your doubt, and let that trust build slowly, the way trust always builds, through repeated experiences of being met with grace instead of condemnation. I want to say one more thing before you go, because I think it matters more than it might seem at first. The fact that you stayed this long, through all these words, through all these invitations to slow down and simply be, is itself significant. It is evidence that something in you still longs for more than constant motion, still longs for a place to rest that does not require you to perform or prove anything at all. That longing is not a flaw in you. It is a sign of health, a sign that despite everything the world has taught you about hustle and self-sufficiency, some part of you still knows that you were made for connection, for stillness, for a relationship that does not demand you earn your place in it. It was never weakness that drew you to stay this long. It was always a quiet wisdom in you, recognizing what your soul actually needed even when your schedule told you there was no time for it. So hold on to that wisdom. Let it guide you back to stillness again tomorrow, and the day after that, even when the demands of your life try to convince you there is no room for it. There is always room, because rest is not something you fit into the margins of an already full life. It is something I invite you to build the rest of your life around, one pause at a time. Take a breath now. Let it fill your lungs slowly, and let it out slowly too. Feel your shoulders drop just a little further than they were a few minutes ago. Notice the stillness you have allowed yourself to have, even if it feels unfamiliar, even if part of you is already anticipating the moment you will need to move on. If you feel led, speak to me now, honestly, about whatever has been sitting heavy in you. You do not need the right words. You simply need to be willing to stay long enough to say them, however imperfectly they come out. And when you are ready to go back to your day, carry this moment with you. Remember that stillness is not wasted time. Remember that you are valued for who you are, not only for what you produce. Remember that I am not tired of your company, and I never will be. And remember that you are always welcome to come back here, to stay with me a few more minutes, whenever the noise of your life grows loud and you need a quiet place to simply rest. You were never meant to run the whole race without pausing. You were always meant to stay close enough to me that the pauses themselves became part of the journey.